Welcome to Hustle and Pro, talking sports from youth to pro. We're here at Visual Learning Solutions in Frisco, Texas. I'm your host, Kelly Walker. Our guest today is a friend, a sports fan, and a local business owner, Brian Wysong. Welcome to Hustle and Pro.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. So I've known you for a while, and we have talked sports and talked life and all kinds of things many times. But this is the first time we're filming it and doing it on camera, and so I'm excited for people to learn maybe something they didn't know about you already. So, I mentioned you're a local business owner. You are co-owner of Tumbleweed Textiles.
That's right.
I wore one of my very many things, Tumbleweed. I wore my shirt today. So we will get into that a little bit, but I kind of want to go back a step and on this sports-related conversation and learn from you. Like, what is your sports background as a kid growing up?
Right. Well, first off, sports to me is about everything. It's from collectibles to going to Goodwill and thrifting. And sports is really kind of my life, and looking back growing up, my parents at an early age got me involved with sports. Not like today where they kind of force kids to play. I wanted to play. So they got me involved in soccer, baseball, football. So I grew up playing at of course, amateur youth level, middle school, and then high school, baseball, football, soccer, track, cross country. But soccer definitely was my primary sport.
Did soccer become your only focus through high school, or do you say you also did other things in high school?
I did. So at all 4 years, freshman, sophomore year, junior, and senior, I did letter in soccer, football, and cross country. I did run track, but at a certain point I had to choose, and I chose soccer.
Yeah.
And I played high school sports as well as club. So I also grew up playing club soccer as well.
And you were in this area?
I grew up in South Fort Worth.
Okay.
And so things have changed a little bit.
Yeah.
Back then, which really wasn't that long ago, playing club soccer, you either played in Fort Worth or you played in Dallas near, Collin College or the Richland College. And so, but growing up, I played in D1 Dallas, played in the Dallas Cup, played on the Olympic Development Program team.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I knew that you played club. I think we realized that once you and my husband were talking and y'all realized you either played for the same club or against each other or something. I think maybe the ages even matched up for a while or something. But I didn't know you were on Olympic Development and you were a Dallas Cup kid.
Yes. Yeah. So I played growing up. We were always in the D1. I played on the Fort Worth Tejanos, which eventually became Mid-Cities Tejanos later with a coach named Willie Milano, which is crazy because a lot of my old coaches now either coach with FC Dallas or other local programs as well. And through that, I remember playing against like Clint Dempsey. Mm-hmm. He played for the Longhorns, and I remember beating them actually at Dallas Cup one year. And so that's kind of like my pride and joy to say I was better than this one guy for one time in my life.
Yeah, but he'll be Hall of Famer.
I know. Yeah. And so, but yeah, that was definitely my life growing up. All morning, day, night was living, breathing soccer.
And so did that then influence your path after that, like your career job or your job as you grew up and out of playing soccer?
100%. Soccer growing up, I think, I grew up in a military family. My sister was an elite gymnast as well. And so, yeah, she was on her way to the Olympics, and then she dislocated both of her elbows. Oh my gosh. Her son, Paxton, he's actually on the FC Dallas program as well right now. So it's just kind of my lineage. My dad swam in college. He dove in college. He played sports. So really through that, the competitive spirit of an athlete was driven into my spirit. Yeah. Hardworking, dedication, learning. In the morning you wake up, I went and ran. Then I lifted weights, and then I would go and do football training. And then after school, we go to PE, which was typically football. And then I went over to soccer, went back to varsity football practice, and then at the end of the night would go to club soccer. And so that same spirit kind of has led to what I believe the success of Tumbleweed Textiles and Jeb as well. I mean, our background is athletics. We learn to work well with people, how to work as a team. And so all those opportunities, I think, of how we were raised is really embodied the success of our brand.
And I think it's also partly why you guys work together so well. Did that partnership and friendship start in college?
With Jeb?
Yes.
No, actually, I actually was at Liberty High School.
Okay. For some reason, did you both go to Texas Tech?
We went to Tech.
Okay.
And actually, conversations about Tech football and Tech sports is why we even connected to think, hey, let's start a business.
That's why I was like, I know there's a Tech. I knew you were both Tech guys because we talked about Red Raiders before, but I didn't remember if y'all were there together and friends there together.
Right. Well, the thing that's to me interesting that probably most people don't know about is why did I start teaching? My background is I graduated with a marketing degree, then worked at a nonprofit and church in Lubbock, came to the Dallas-Fort Worth area with my wife to work at a marketing agency.
Right.
And actually, I was at a local restaurant talking to my brother-in-law, and I was telling him how I really wanted to coach soccer again and that I missed that side of my life and wanted to give back, even if it was just part-time or as a nonprofit. And Coach Mullins, who at that time was the assistant athletic director, overheard my conversation. He turned around and started talking to Roy, my brother-in-law.
Oh, interesting.
Because he was his football coach back in wherever they went to high school. And he was like, hey, we actually have a job at the local middle school. Would you have any interest in taking that job? So that was actually what got me into education was the soccer coaching opportunity and not even teaching. So
definitely did not realize that connection with the soccer and the teaching. So many people know that you and Jeb were teachers when you started Tumbleweed. You have since focused on the business. Your marketing background, right, has taken on full-time Tumbleweed.
Right.
Jeb still is teaching here in Frisco, art at Liberty, still, right? So I want to go back to that Texas Tech conversation and stuff, though, because like I said, we've talked about this before. Jeb has been on this podcast, it seems like forever ago.
Right.
Jeb was great. We talked about his dad and Tech football and that kind of stuff. And I know that's a passion of yours, too. So I want to just ask you about, like, your time out in Lubbock. I loved my time out there. You know my husband, we met out there. And while, you know, we aren't, as Red Raider fans, we're not, like, national championship winning fans left and right or anything, but we love it and it's fun. And so I wanted to ask you, what are some of your favorite Tech sports memories from your time there?
Well, I have to start with one. It was my own sports memory, is just intramurals.
Yeah.
And playing intramurals, I did play basketball, football, but of course, living my once was life of playing soccer. It was always fun getting out there playing intramural soccer with my fraternity.
Yeah.
And going to the championship game was a lot of fun. And you're going up against another fraternity that you might not like. And so that was a lot of great memories because there's a lot, kind of like an identity I created within my body of friends.
Sure.
It was something I was good at. And so they kind of rallied around me with that.
Was this a men's or co-ed?
Both.
Yeah.
Actually, that same year, my sophomore year, we went to the championship in both co-ed and in the men's league.
Do you remember your team names?
Oh, man. Well,
we had the silliest team names, and we always still joke about it, our co-ed team names. We did co-ed. That's how I met Ryan.
Okay.
Intramurals on a soccer field in Lubbock. We did outdoor co-ed and then indoor co-ed, which was just like a whole nother beast of soccer. So do you remember your team names?
Well, most of the time it was our fraternity name.
Yeah.
But then it was the Red Devils. Was one.
Red Dirt Devils would be good.
That was
Red
a
Dirt
good
would
one.
be good. Yeah.
But then kind of going into other memories, probably my next favorite was my freshman year. We were playing UT Texas Longhorns and we were.
The rivals.
I just remember I didn't really know who Cliff Kingsbury was at that time because I was a freshman and he probably was a sophomore at that point. And we beat UT right down to the last minute. And I just remember everyone, of course, stormed the field. And I remember seeing Cliff Kingsbury run up to Mac Brown, start yelling in his face. And just that camaraderie at one moment in time, it didn't matter what fraternity you were in. It didn't matter what your degree was. Everyone in that stadium outside the Longhorns were together as one, excited, celebrating. It carried over to that night and really the whole week. So that was probably my second favorite memory. And then probably my third, it was after I graduated, was the Crabtree catch.
That's on my list.
It was.
Yes.
I was up actually when I was at the ad agency. I was in Pittsburgh, and I was up there with one of my teammates in a whole bar full of Pittsburgh the people that lived in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And so because I was at Tech and they didn't like Texas Longhorns, the entire bar had my back and everyone was celebrating. I remember they lifted me up and gave me high fives. And so that had to be my other favorite memory as well. Yeah.
I made that Crabtree memory with some mutual friends, the Ginthners. And so those are so fun. Even after we're done, like we graduated and things like that. So when you were there, let's see, I was there at the end of the Spike Dykes era with Mike Leach coming in. So that's crossover with you then?
When I was there, Coach Leach was the football coach and Bobby Knight was the basketball coach.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Okay, so we must have crossed over a little bit because I was a student with Cliff.
Okay.
Like I had classes with Cliff Kingsbury. It's so weird now. Like you mentioned, him yelling at Mac Brown, and to think now, like, okay, he's this very well-known, successful NFL coach, and we were like there when he was this player that was just amongst us,
Well, one thing I always tell my team in a bragging way is like one time my business stats class, I had Josh Abbott, I had Lincoln Riley, I had Cliff Kingsbury, the owner of this brand called Hammock, which is a well-known like camping hammock brand.
Okay.
We all sat on the same row, and so Lincoln Riley now is who he is, and of course Josh Abbott, and so it's amazing.
That's cool.
What college memories or things, and all sports. Sports is really in the DNA of our brand. And not only is that how Jeb and I met, not only is that why I became a teacher. But sports is one of those things that even our marketing promotions, our sales opportunities, the Super Bowl, the Olympics, it doesn't matter what. And there's no better place than being right here in Frisco because we can tailor so many things that we do around sports. And there's nothing that gets Jeb and I more fired up and excited than sports. And so it's definitely that, Texas music, sports, of course.
They go hand in hand a lot of the time. A lot of these musicians are fans, and so they're at the events, and it all just sort of melds together, right?
100%, yeah, for sure.
I want to talk more about that, like how Tumbleweed and sports kind of work together when it's not a sports brand.
Right.
Before we jump into that, though, I do want to take a quick break so we can hear from our sponsors. It might even be Tumbleweed. You guys are one of our sponsors, but we'll take a quick break. We'll come back, and we're going to talk more about like examples of how you guys do work so much sports into your brand.
For one-on-one tutoring for every student, all ages and all subjects, call Tutor Doctor. They even make house calls. They provide in-home or online learning for all types and all goals. And don't forget Tutor Doctor for SAT and ACT test prep. So call for your free consultation today, 972-703-9344, or go to tutordoctor.com/Frisco. Tutor Doctor, how learning hits home. This episode is brought to you by The Pitt, Performance Indoor Training. The Pitt has 3 training and entertainment complexes in the DFW area that offer both indoor and outdoor elite soccer training. The Pitt offers league play for co-ed, youth, and adult leagues. And for training, the Junior Academy is for ages 2 through 6, plus the Pitt Soccer Academy for ages 5+. And goalkeeper training is offered as well. To learn more about the Pitt Frisco, Plano, or Roanoke, head to performanceindoortraining.com. This episode is sponsored by Tumbleweed Textiles. Tumbleweed Textiles t-shirts, hats, tanks, sweatshirts, collared shirts, plus houseware items, and so much more are authentically Texan. Their unique designs are hand-drawn and inspired by Texas music, history, food, and fun. Find the latest from Tumbleweed Textiles online at shoptwt.com, or better yet, visit the Tumbleweed Textiles flagship store in the heart of the Rail District on Main Street in Frisco, Texas. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to Hustle and Pro. We're talking with Brian Wysong, a friend and a sports fan and one of the co-owners of Tumbleweed Textiles. So we were talking before the break about how you guys work sports into your, sort of naturally into your brand. But I mean, the Tumbleweed brand is the Texana, right? The culture of Texas. And for people like us growing up, like that is part of our Texas culture. I grew up in Waco, so I'm not a Baylor Bear, obviously, but that was so such a big part of growing up and just my own personal sports. And so that is like one of my top cultural things about being a Texan is sports. So just kind of talk to me more about like, was that something that you guys set out to do when you started this, or did it just naturally happen to where these collaborations and shirt designs incorporated basketball and football and things like that?
Well, I think first, Jeb and I, because we met talking about our experiences through Texas Tech, even though we were there at different years, sports kind of combines you or connects you no matter what age difference there might be. So I think that is a significant part. Two, one of the biggest, our most popular designs is Texas Towns. And our Texas Towns design really is something special because it's about all the different locations Jeb lived and moved to, which was because of his dad being a high school football coach.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Right. So he moved all over every couple of years because his dad would take on a new job as he moved up from coordinator and so on. So that in itself and the range that Jeb understands Texas is because of sports. And so I think that was the foundation. But as we move forward, you think of like as a store, we needed to put together a promotion. Well, Super Bowl or Frisco Bowl games. This year we were a sponsor for the Frisco Bowl game.
Yeah.
And we saw great success on that. And when people come to Toyota Stadium to watch a bowl game or North Texas play or a soccer game, one of their stops or destinations might be our store.
Sure.
When you think of like Petticolas with craft beer, they're all about craft beer, soccer, and of course Tumbleweed Textiles and Texas t-shirts.
It fits.
It fits. And so I think that is why it's just an overflow of the passion that Jeb and I and our entire team has of sports, and it naturally flows into our entertainment, our lifestyle. If we're going to go out on a Tuesday night and talk about sports, we're probably or talk about Texas t-shirts or work. Yeah. We're probably watching over with a beer and a sports game.
Sure, or what just happened in a game or something. Yeah. So. And you mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, thrifting and things like that. And we weren't even talking about Tumbleweed, but I know that's something that you and Jeb both kind of draw inspiration from.
For sure.
Right? Yeah. And so, but you mentioned thrifting as like your sports background too, is that you like explore and thrift, and you're looking for sports memorabilia and things that remind you of your childhood.
You think of like old starter jackets or like knee-high socks or Chucks, Converse All-Stars. I mean, there's so many things that are athletic based, but are very much a fashion trend.
Sure.
Or you think of
like just certain striping 100%. And piping and stuff. Yeah.
And so, or certain colors, like one of our favorite color combinations is the Houston Oilers. That light blue
Baby
with
blue.
the red, and I mean that.
The Rangers shirt y'all just did with the light blue. It's a light blue shirt.
Yeah.
With the red and white script.
Yes.
Los Rangers, right? It's one of my favorites. You instantly, just the colors, it instantly takes me back to like retro Rangers.
Oh, well, that was the thing is Jose Trevino, the catcher for the Rangers, was in our store shopping. And he's like, man, you guys need to do something in that baby blue. That's my favorite color. So that was actually the inspiration behind that shirt. Was him wanting us to do that shirt. Yeah. So, and that was one of our better selling shirts.
It's great, yeah.
And,
I love it.
And there's a connection, if you look on social media, how many times people do go to concerts, local restaurants, but also sporting events, they do wear our shirts. And it might not say the sports team's name, but it has the right color combination. Yeah. And they wear it with a hat or something like that.
Yeah. One of my go-to Cowboy game day shirts is a Tumbleweed shirt because it has the right color combinations. It's sort of a cowboy shirt too. But yeah, there's so many. My mom is a big sports fan like me. It's where I get a lot of it from too, my parents. But every year for Christmas or Mother's Day, whatever, she gets a new Tumbleweed, either football or something sport related Tumbleweed shirt. Or like there's one with the flag with a football helmet in it too, So it's just like subtly sports, but also Texas. And so it doesn't scream like a sport necessarily or a team, but it's just these subtle little things. So that's really, I think it's really creative how you guys work it in.
Well, there's one of like, speaking of business, one of my favorite, I guess, marketing techniques is experiential marketing. And I think almost anyone can remember some point in their life when either they were youth sports with that orange slice and that Kool-Aid coming out of the cooler and, youth sports, or maybe it was high school pro, maybe as an experience as a spectator, where there's a song that they hear, maybe there's a smell that they smell, and it takes them back to that moment.
The candy, the nachos.
Exactly,
yeah.
And so that's something that we like to embody in our store, maybe in our marketing, in our social media, our pictures, or even our product development, is those experiences that take people back to that time that they can remember. And so that then when they wear a shirt, it's a happy mood, a happy feeling. And so I just think there's so much just synergy with sports and fashion and even marketing.
I've never heard you say that before. And so I didn't realize that was like probably intentional.
Right.
But it's true. Like that's probably why I enjoy like wearing so much of it. It's feel good stuff that makes me like kind of connects you to some of those triggers that makes you happy and think about memories growing up and stuff like that. That's great. I mean, this isn't like a podcast about tumbleweed. I'm just fascinated by it because I've known you guys now for maybe 4 years, 5, I don't know, maybe longer.
Probably longer.
And
actually.
You've been around a long time. Like how old is tumbleweed?
We are working on our 11th year now.
11. Okay. So I mean, I just think it's fascinating to have you guys, these local teachers that start this brand, and then how it's grown. And of course, you have a store now, so it's definitely like tangible. Right. You know, this growth. But then to see all the people wearing tumbleweed, my family makes fun of me. We'll be somewhere, not even in Frisco, and I can always spot. I can either spot it because of the design I see or the red hem tag or whatever. But I'm always like tumbleweed, 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 and they just think it's hilarious that they're everywhere, right? Which is awesome. I just think it's exciting. Yeah. So I'm proud of you guys and happy for you guys.
I love hearing that.
Before we wrap up, I do want to talk about something non-tumbleweed. How sports will or play a part with your life as a parent. Okay. I know you have littler kiddos, and hearing you talk about your dad being a collegiate athlete, right? Your sister, all these elite, and you guys all play at these high levels. Is sports something that's going to carry through to the next generation?
I believe so. Of course, my son's going to be a pro athlete, but I think, first off, my daughter, she has special needs, and we didn't know that when she first was born, and we learned to come to know that she had a somewhat of a physical and cognitive disability. And of course, naturally, one, being a competitive athlete, one, and then two, being a coach at that time, my heart just dropped. So I'm like, she's never going to play sports.
Right.
But we've actually gotten really involved in the Frisco Miracle League, and it's an outstanding organization.
So great, yeah.
And she's played indoor soccer at the local arena,
I love that.
Bowling, and other sports as well. And it's funny because a lot of people are really encouraging us. Maybe she could be in the Special Olympics and different things like that, because she really loves to run, and she's really good at bowling for her level.
Yeah.
And so I think that in itself actually is playing a significant role in my parenting with her, because it gives us the disconnect with her special needs and my lack of understanding. And as a parent, I learn every day a little bit more about her.
Yeah.
Is it gives us something to focus on, and it gives me something to coach her and that we're able to connect with
together.
And she sees me valuing her in something like that.
Sure.
And I think that the sports will be our connection. And we're actually signed up for this year's Miracle League as well for bowling, and we're excited about that. And
That's awesome.
And then my son and my wife and I are expecting a third child.
Congrats.
Thank you. And so I do think sports, regardless if our two sons will be great at soccer or great at sports or not, it's definitely going to be an opportunity for me to be able to hopefully be their coach.
Sure.
For us to bond as a family on weekends, and hopefully instill the traits that I learned for my personal life, whether it be in school, business, different concepts, is hopefully I can instill that same discipline into their life.
Right, because like you said, it goes way beyond what happens on the court or field
for sure.
or track or wherever you're on. There's so much you can take away from that, even if you only play, even if they're just playing as toddlers and they're little, and you sort of plant a foundation of expectations and things like that. And they can carry that forward.
For sure. As a parent, as a coach, I hated listening to all the parents telling me that their kids were going to be pro athletes, and I would see their daughters or their sons cry because they didn't really even want to play the sport.
Yeah.
And the one thing I learned from that experience, it was that sports, the greatest value is the life lessons and the opportunity to be in shape and to learn more about yourself, build confidence in yourself, and for my family, for my wife and I, that's what we hope to utilize sports is something that they grow up and love and want to then be spectators one day, but also for them to help kind of drive and mold their personalities and their work ethic.
Yeah, the confidence stands out to me. Confidence is a big one. And as I talk to younger athletes, because, on this show, I have had some younger ones, like a middle school group, but then high school kids, a lot of those. And the ability to adapt to learning how to be a teammate. And it's interesting the difference in playing for school versus playing for club, how you even just those two differences, how you have to adjust your style of being a teammate, because maybe for school, the level's different and everybody's making a team or whatever. Whereas in your club, there's a different mindset out there. And so having to adapt and learn how to be a productive, collaborator is huge. 100%. And I think can be a huge thing for our kids, even if they're just playing youth sports. It can still really, like you said, shape them going forward.
Oh, for sure. And I've seen the effects that it's had on my nephew's life, even Hannah, my daughter, with her special needs, the effect that she's gained so much confidence because it allowed her to be around other kids that are like her, but also their big buddies that would be there, and she would see them value her, and it just built so much of her confidence. And then us as parents, we see, oh wait, there's other people out there like us, and so it builds our confidence even as parents in that sports environment. So it's 100%. I think sports is just one of those things that it could bring worlds together, it could bring people together, but also brings people together with themselves to hopefully mature and build more confidence in who they are.
Yeah, I love it. Well, and I'm glad it brought us here to record this episode. So I know you're busy running the store and all things going on with Tumbleweed and your family, your growing family. So I appreciate your time here with us today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. And thank you guys for joining us for this episode of Hustle and Pro. You can find us on your favorite podcast platforms or watch the show on YouTube now. However you do find us, please like, comment, and share with your friends. It's easy for you and it means a lot to us. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next episode of Hustle and Pro. See you next time.